Hello, you guys. I am Northern Gamer 207, and I am here basically to tell the story of Walt Disney today. I got this Life magazine. It's Walt Disney from Mickey to the Magic Kingdom. My mother got it for me, and I'm basically going to tell you about it so you don't have to read it. It's actually really good. I would recommend reading it. It's got some beautiful pictures. And it tells the story of Walt Disney in a really cool way. Now, I'm going to do this in several sections because the book is broken up into 7 sections. Now, I'm going to start on the section called Marcel the Mouse and the Mouse. It tells about like Disney's early childhood and how he came up with the inspiration for Mickey Mouse. And it's really fascinating. Now, in 1906, an unsuccessful carpenter named Ellis Disney moved with his wife, Flora, to the town of Marcel, Missouri, hoping to find success as a farmer. Marcel was an unlikely source of inspiration for Walt Disney. Disney's youngest son, Walt, was not quite 5 years old when he fell in love with the little town. He was born in Chicago on December 5th, 1901. Walt basically became to see Marcel as the source of the only real childhood he ever had. He would spend 4 years prowling the Main Street, like staring at locomotives, kind of marveling in them. He thought they were really, really cool. And his wife, Lillian, would later say that it became a big part of Walt's life. And it had a big influence on him in nearly everything he did, from like some of the films he made, like Pollyanna, to Disneyland's Main Street and how he designed it. But the times were very difficult back then, and Ellis was not cut out to be a farmer. Like, I hate to break it to him, he wasn't. So he moved the family to Kansas City, Missouri, and he became very, very bitter. He basically now had to run a paper route, and his employees were his sons. Walt Disney would have to like get up at dawn and work all day, often in like the cold, in the snow. He would fall asleep exhausted in like apartment foyers. Now, Walt had big dreams still. Like, that didn't get him down. It didn't change how optimistic he was. He very much wanted to escape his dad, who was often violent. His father actually at one point, according to the magazine, tried to attack him with a hammer. Now, I wonder how that all went down. Like, can you imagine being, like, in the town and you look out and you see, like, a dad trying to attack his kids? I want to know, like, were they in, like, a closed building? I have more questions about that than I do about other parts of, like, this section of the magazine. Ellis was kind of sober and dogged. That's how he was described, whereas Walt was energetic and optimistic. Walt did love attention, and he thought about being an actor for a while, but he was obsessed with drawing. He loved to draw. Now, in 1918, the Allies defeated the Germans in World War I. And Walt knew he had to go there. He was stationed with the Red Cross in France. And this was his, like, first experience being, like, independent. That's gotta be, like, a scary experience, in my opinion. Like, the Red Cross is helping a lot of wounded soldiers. And he also, this is when he began chain smoking, which probably didn't do well for, like, his health whatsoever. But after the war, he had some cash and still a lot of optimism, and he partnered in business with another cartoonist called UB Works. It's spelled Iwerks. I don't know how to pronounce that. And he would play a significant part in Walt's career and in Disney history. Walt found a job in the Kansas City Slide Company. They produced live action and cartoon advertisements, but the work sparked something in Walt as a teenager. He really became intrigued with like the trick of making things move on film. And he would say that later himself. Only 2 decades old in 1920, animation was very primitive. Like, they didn't have the technology they had today. Basically, you could compare it to, like, Bill Gates and to computers before, like, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs came along. Like, it was very, very primitive. But Walt, he was a visionary artist. Like, he sensed that there was a lot of potential when it came to cartoons and things of that nature. He convinced his boss to actually loan him a camera, and he started making his own animated films in his father's garage on, like, nights and during the weekends. After everyone else was in bed, of course. And Walt would be out there, puttering away, doing his work, trying this and trying that and experimenting. And then at the age of 20, Walt partnered again with iWorks, this time to start his own company. Walt decided it was time to start his own business, and he called it Laugh-O-Gram Films. And they produced a short about Alice, a live-action girl who interacted with cartoon worlds. But this venture didn't go very well. It basically failed. So like a lot of others, he decided to go west, and he joined Roy in Los Angeles. Roy was Walt's brother. He packed all of his goods. He packed a pair of trousers, a checkered coat, his drawing materials, the last of the fairy tale reels he had made in a kind of cardboard box suitcase, and he went off to Hollywood, arriving there with only $40 in his pocket. Now that is not a lot, or doesn't seem like a lot in today's age. It was probably a lot back then. Now Walt didn't find a lot of places that were hiring cartoonists at the time, or places like that. The cartoons in the 1920s, they were really an afterthought when it came to Hollywood. But it wasn't long before Disney was asked by New York-based Margaret Winkler to create more Alice comedies. So Walt and Roy joined forces, and with Roy, the steady voice of fiscal responsibility, to Walt's obsessive, sometimes reckless visionary, they set up shops. They kind of balanced each other out because Roy and Walt were very different. Roy was more responsible and things like that. And they started working in their uncle's garage on Kingswell Avenue in Los Angeles. And they began making a bunch of shorts. And then they began to hire animators. They moved into this place called this store on Kingswell. And the brothers and their staff later moved to another new space on Hyperion Avenue. Now, like all cartoon makers, he was on the lookout for a distinctive animal. He wanted something that would rival Felix the Cat, which was a very popular cartoon at the time. And he and his teams came up with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And the creature was mostly drawn by iWorks, who had joined the Disneys in LA, and who was, Walt believed, more talented at drawing. But then, just as it seemed as Disney's luck was on the upswing, Winkler's new husband, Charles Mintz, who contractually owned Oddwell, announced that he was taking the character from Walt. Not only was he taking the character Oswald, he was taking a lot of key animations, a lot of key animators from Disney. So basically, Charles Mintz now owned the rights to Oswald, and he was getting the animators from Disney. And this was a really massive blow to Disney. But Walt, he did work well under pressure. So he and his team were determined to top both Oswald, the rabbit that Walt had helped design, and Felix, the cat. And they devoured magazines, advertisements, films, seeking inspiration for a new character. Before long, they developed a creature that iWorks characterized, thusly: pear-shaped body, ball on top, couple of thin legs. You gave it long ears and it was a rabbit. Short ears, it was a cat. Ears hanging down, a dog. With an elongated nose, it became a mouse. Walt actually originally named Mickey Mouse Mortimer Mouse, but Lillian Bounds, who later became Mrs. Walt Disney and married Disney in 1925, thought that the name Mortimer Mouse didn't fit Mickey Mouse, and she actually was the one who suggested the name Mickey. Now, this magazine has so many cool pictures as you flipped through it, but this is just, I mean, that's him working for the Red Cross. It really goes into details about Disney's life. There he is as a little baby. These are his parents over here. So basically that is the story of Mariceline and the mouse and Disney's early childhood. We didn't read the introduction because there just wasn't as much information in there as far as that I didn't find in the next section. It just is kind of introducing you to the beginning of the magazine and whatnot. But yeah, I will do more segments about some of the other some of the other content areas in this. So the next section we'll probably do is Mickey makes his mark. And we'll go through this in sections. I'll try my best to put it in my own world. I'll have the magazine here to refresh my memory. I'll show you some of the pictures, but let me know if you want to see more of this kind of segment. I thought it was really cool. I love Disney and I love Mickey Mouse, so getting to learn Walt Disney's backstory and how he made his way to success was really cool. And to even learn that he had several failures before he made it big and was very successful was really cool. Let me know if you want to see more of this. Like I said, I plan on doing a whole playlist about Walt Disney, and I hope you will stick with me and watch it. If today is your birthday, happy birthday. Go you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for returning. It means the world to me. And I will see you all later. Bye.